Okay, so I think I might be live now. There's always a bit of a delay, of course, with Facebook, so bear with me while I just check that we are ready to rock and roll. It looks as though I am live, so that's great. So, well, hello everyone, and I'm so pleased to be with you. So, hola, bom dia. I think there are many of you here already, and it would be helpful if you could let me know you can hear me, you can see me. So please do just pop a comment in the comments box if you can hear me and see me. And also, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments because I would absolutely love to hear where you are from and things like whether what your experience of tarot is, whether you're a professional tarot reader or if you're an interested amateur. I'm always interested to find out more about how people are relating to tarot. So I'm beginning to see some comments coming in, which is great. So hello there, Lisa. Nice to have you with me. And it's so nice to be here. And just before I begin, really, I want to say a big thank you to Paula and to Miguel and everyone who's been involved in organizing this event because I know how much work goes into an event like this, and I know how much time it takes to put an event like this together. And I really appreciate the time and attention that Paula and Miguel and colleagues have put into it. Um, so yes, so that's great. And just so you know what I'm intending to do here today, and to give you a sense of the kind of things that we'll be doing, you've already seen in your Facebook group, Paula has put in some instructions about some art materials I might be asking you to use shortly. So I'll say a bit more about that in a little while. But I suppose I should say a bit about who I am and why I'm here. So my name's Brian Cormak Carr. That's a bit of a mouthful, so you can call me BCC if you like. Many people do. And I'm a life and business coach for people who are either have or want to have soul-based businesses. So I work with other coaches and therapists and authors and entrepreneurs and healers and teachers and tarot readers, of course, to help them to build their dream businesses and to bring some light and healing into this world. Because my goodness, we certainly know that it needs it, doesn't it? So, hi Elle, hi JP, hi Lisa, hi Paula, hi Miguel. Great to see you all here. So. Wonderful. Now, a bit of a shameless plug from me, first of all. So, I've told you that I'm a coach. I'm also an author. I've written 3 books, which you can find on Amazon if they would be of service to you, including my first book, which is How to Find Your Vital Vocation. This is a book about career hunting and job hunting and how to create the career of your dreams, which I've done many times. I've had several careers and I've followed this same process. And so I thought I should put it into a book so other people could benefit from it as well. Then my second book is Real Food Revival Plan, which is about how to find the healthiest way of eating for you, because there's no one way that fits everyone. And my most recent book is called We Are the Sacred Masculine Rising. And this is actually a book that has a number of essays in it from other coaches and healers and teachers and so on, all men who are coaches and healers and working in that kind of area. And I wrote one of the chapters in the book, and I also wrote the introduction. And my chapter actually is about really it's about how I discovered tarot and how or maybe more accurately how tarot discovered me. So I'll say a bit more about that during this presentation. I'm also a course creator, and I've created a couple of tarot related courses, one of which is a free course which is on my YouTube channel called Tarot to the Nines, and that's all about how we can study tarot through the lens of number and how number helps connect us to a number of different sacred traditions and different ways of looking at the card. So that's on my YouTube channel and is free. I'll pop actually the link in the comments so you can look at that at your leisure. And then I also last year ran a course called Tarot Coach Session Success, which is really more for people who perhaps want to use tarot in a professional setting. maybe as a coach or a professional tarot reader, but really it's for anyone who wants to be able to combine the power of life coaching skills with tarot cards, because that's what I do, and I find it to be a really powerful system and a really powerful way of getting fantastic results for whoever the reading's for. So whether that's for you or for your clients. It can work really well. And actually, I'm reopening the doors of Tarot Coach Session Success a bit later this year. I'll put the link in the chat again. And if you want to get on the wait list to find out more about that when it becomes available, then you can. So, what else can I tell you about me? I've been coaching for about 13 years now, and I've been reading tarot for 31 years this year. I taught myself tarot when I went to university, and I met someone who lived in the room above me in my block of flats, who had a tarot deck, and she taught herself how to read tarot, and she taught me how to read tarot, and we would practice with the cards. And very quickly, I discovered that I had, well, an affinity, I guess, for the cards. I really enjoyed working with them, and most importantly, I found that they really helped me to make decisions in my life and to move forward, which is really what led me into combining tarot and coaching. So that's me, and that's why I'm here. And I'll say a little bit about the format of my session now. First of all, just to let you know, I'm not being terribly technologically fancy. I've been watching the presentations that have just been before me, which I've found really interesting. Even though I only speak English, I managed to follow quite a lot of what was going on because of the helpful audio-visual display and PowerPoint. I'm not using PowerPoint. I'm using old-fashioned flip chart and paper, and only a couple of those. So most of the time, I'm afraid, you'll just have to look at me. Although for part of the session, you'll have your eyes closed because we're going to do a meditation in a moment. Uh, and this session is called How to Build Your Inner Tarot Deck, or really more accurately, it's how to find your inner tarot deck. So let's get started on that. And please, at any point, if you have any questions or comments, do feel free to engage in the chat. It would be really great. And I'll try and take questions at the end. So hello to those of you who are joining. Hi Sandra, hi Rebecca, Linda. Lovely to see so many familiar names and faces, and also some new names and faces. So hi Teresa, that's wonderful. Oh, and thank you very much for your comment, Paula. Yes, you were one of my first students in Tarot Coach Session Success, and yes, I'm looking forward to sharing with you soon what's going to be added into the Tarot Coaching portal. So great. So what you need for this session, very simple. You just need your brain. You need your open-hearted curiosity. I know that you have got all of that in abundance. You need something to write with. You need a tarot deck, of course, or more than one. If you want to have more than one, if you want to include oracle cards as well, that's absolutely fine. And Paula mentioned in the group, and I've mentioned in the group, that it would also be great if you feel called to do this, if you had some art materials available to you. So that could be plasticine, clay, scissors, glue, glitter, paint, colored pens, but just pen and paper would be fine. You don't have to have those things. But if you do feel like having those things, then let's have fun with this, because at some point in this session, I'll invite you to use some of those materials in a very fluid, easy, gentle way. And if at any point, even when I'm not asking you to use them, you feel called to use them, to start doodling based on the insights you are perhaps having as you follow along, then feel free to do that. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is that part of the process of connecting with our inner tarot deck, and I'll say a bit about what that is in a moment, is to help us get beyond our rational minds and get past our kind of expectations of what we should be doing when it comes to learning tarot. So this is going to be a fun, relaxed session, and I invite you to just hold on to what I'm saying very lightly. Don't take anything too strongly to heart, and just let it be what it will be for you. And as I say, at the end of the session, I'll take some questions if we have time, and we'll be finished certainly by 1 o'clock, if not before. So you may even get an early lunch, depending on how quickly I get through the material and how many questions you have for me. So there are going to be 4 sections to this session, and the first one which we'll look at in a moment, is we're going to bust some myths about tarot and how we need to learn tarot and the things we need in order to read tarot properly. We'll also look at a way of looking at the tarot with a fresh pair of eyes. Um, and we're going to do a little meditative exercise to help us do that. And so you'll get some direct experience of doing that. And we'll be using a particular card for that exercise, which I'll tell you how to select in a moment. Then we'll look at some other exercises and techniques, some of my favorite exercises and techniques for developing a connection with our inner tarot deck, that tarot that lives inside us. And I'd love to hear some of your ideas for this. And again, we'll use our specific card as a touchstone as we go through the session. And the reason I'm asking you to select a specific card is so you have an experience of connecting with that card in a new, fresh way. And once you know how to do that with one card, you can do it with all 78 cards. You can do it with any tarot deck. You can do it with no tarot deck. So that's what we'll look at next. And then I've got some recommended resources for you for further study. And as I say, I'll take some questions. So let's begin by choosing what I'm calling our touchstone card. That's the card we're going to work with in this session. Now you can choose this in any way you like. So you can select it at random from the deck, just one card, just pull it out, and that can be your card for working with. You could pick a favorite card of yours. Maybe you have a card that you particularly enjoy seeing come up in a reading, or that you have a particular affinity with, or maybe it's your birth card. Maybe you've worked out what your birth card is, or maybe you could work with a card that's really challenging for you. Maybe one of those cards that whenever it comes up in a reading, you kind of recoil and think, oh no, because you either are maybe a bit wary of it, or maybe you find it a bit difficult to understand. I think we all have that, don't we? We have certain cards when they come up, we've really got to think, what does this mean? How can it fit this reading, this process? So you could do that. Or you could do what I'm going to do and use the card that relates to this specific date. So if ever you've picked a birth card, you'll know how this process works. You take the date. Now let me just make sure. I need to look at my need to look at my screen to make sure that I'm actually that you can actually see what I'm showing you, because I don't want to be. Yes, here we are. So there is today's date, and it's a no, I'm going to have to do this backwards. 26th of February 2022. I think that's correct. Hopefully it's correct. And the way you calculate a number, the numerology number at the base of this date, is you simply add all the individual numbers together in a row. This is called Pythagorean reduction. You add it all together and you get 16. 16 then reduces further, 1 plus 6 to 7. Now, it won't have escaped your notice that there are two major arcana cards referenced there. Number 16 is, of course, the Tower, the dreaded Tower, and number 7 is the Chariot. Now, I'm going to use the Chariot. So really the base date for today is the Chariot. That's the number that's at the base of this date, number 7. And the Chariot is a favorite card of mine. It's in fact my birth card, and I like it so much I've even got a Chariot print on my wall. I won't turn the camera because I'll probably disconnect myself or something. But I love the Chariot, and I often work with it. So you could use any of those, or of course, because it's a 7, you could use any of the minor 7s as well. But I want to just say to you that whatever card you choose is the right one. Whatever card you choose is the right one. So don't worry if you're wondering about whether you're picking the right card. You are. So choose your card if you haven't already, and just set it aside for now. Okay. Now, just finally, before we get started in earnest, a bit more about what I mean by an inner tarot deck. And you might have an idea in your mind already of what you think I mean by an inner tarot deck. So, or you might have your own idea of what an inner tarot deck is. So I would love for you in the chat to just type in what you think an inner tarot deck is. Just anything you think. No wrong answer. What you think an inner tarot deck is. And I'll give you a moment to do that while I take a sip out of my Dolly Parton What Would Dolly Do mug. So while you're thinking about what an inner tarot deck is, um, I'll say a little bit about what I think an inner tarot deck is. So I think of it really as being about the deep understanding of tarot that lives inside you. So I think we probably all, as tarot readers, have had that experience of when we first encountered tarot, or at some point when we encountered tarot, we felt a connection to the cards or to a particular deck, and we felt a recognition. So it's almost a sense of something inside us that we're recognizing. So some of you, Elle is saying, my inner tarot deck is my intuition and my inner guidance. Yes, absolutely. Linda, cards which speak to us the most. Yes, absolutely. That sense of recognition and connection, that sense of the familiar. There's definitely something in there about that. Uh, Another possibility, of course, of an inner tarot deck is those of you who want to create a deck of your own might have a sense of a deck that's inside you, waiting to be born, is waiting to come out and live in the world as a real thing. Um, yeah, so Paula is saying bringing tarot cards to engage with our lives. Yeah, absolutely. So uh, connecting the tarot in a very real way with our own life and our own experience. So here's what I want you to get out of this session and from developing an awareness of your inner tarot deck, whatever that means for you. I want you to come away with a sense of confidence so that you can feel comfortable using any tarot deck that you ever encounter, that you ever pick up, because you know that you ultimately hold the meaning of the tarot inside yourself. I want you to know that you have a relationship with tarot that is based on your unique perspective of tarot, of the world, of life, of everything, because that's what brought you to tarot in the first place, of course, before all the shoulds and the complications and the teachings and so on got overlaid on top. I also want you to have a sense of freedom and fun around tarot and a sense that it belongs to you. I think, especially when we're beginning tarot readers, we sometimes feel as though, certainly I had this feeling, that tarot belongs to other people and we're rushing to catch up. We're trying to learn tarot, we're trying to understand it, and other people, experts and others, seem to understand so much more than us. Well, my belief is that you can connect with the tarot immediately from the very first time you encounter it. You can have a deep connection, and I want you to foster that connection, have that sense of freedom and fun in working with your particular deck. Okay, so let me just find my notes for the next bit. So to have a think about what you would like to get from this session, and maybe you will want to pull a card from your deck to help you understand what you would like to get from the session and to have a sense of that. Okay. So now I want to do a quick little energy exercise before we begin. So perhaps you would do this with me. Um, one hand on your belly, whichever hand you feel would be right on your belly, and then another one on your heart. And we'll take 3 deep breaths, and then we'll go into our first section of how to build an inner tarot deck. So 3 breaths. And on the third one, let's set the intention that you're going to make contact with your inner tarot deck. And you're going to trust that it will happen in the way that's right for you, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay. So 3 breaths. Number 1. And 2. And last one. Wonderful. So now that that's the preamble done with, let's begin with our first section, and that is myth busting. So I would like to bust some myths now about the right way for learning about tarot and connecting with tarot. Um, so perhaps you'd like to share with me in the chat some of your ideas of the things that we're told we need in order to be able to read tarot and connect with tarot as tarot readers, which may not be true. So, what are some of the things you regularly hear about reading tarot and what needs to happen in order for you to read tarot that actually might not be true, that might not actually be necessary after all? Any ideas? One of my favorite myths that I realized quite early on was a myth was the idea that you have to be gifted a tarot deck before you can connect with it and read with it. Because nobody gifted me a tarot deck. I wanted to learn about tarot, and so I had to go and buy one, and I did, and it was fine. So yes, and Paul is saying to have mediumship, yes, to have psychic and mediumistic powers, to have some kind of ability beyond your ability to simply read and interpret the cards. We sometimes believe that or hear that, don't we? Lisa says predicting the future. Absolutely, yes. Being able to tell the future with the card. We need to be able to do that if we're going to be a proper tarot reader. Another thing that we might think that we need is we need to memorize the meaning of all the cards. And we can't possibly be a good reader until we've got them all in our minds. Maybe we feel we need years and years of practice. Hi, Rita. Don't worry, you're not late. Nobody's ever late for any of my workshops. You can just join in whenever. We're currently in the process of looking at the things we are told that we need in order to read tarot, which might not be true. So we've had that we need to be psychic or have mediumistic powers. We need to be able to predict the future. We need to be gifted a deck. We need to memorize the meanings. Linda says we need to know all the academic meaning of the cards. And I believe it's very intuitive, and all the cards may have many meanings depending on how you look at them. Absolutely. But yes, we're sometimes taught, or we sometimes think, that we need to know all the academic meanings. We also sometimes think we need to know an awful lot about tarot history, and that we need to understand all the systems, like the Rider-Waite-Smith system, or the Thoth system, or the Marseille system. We need to know them and understand them. We sometimes think we need a qualification, or we're sometimes told we need a qualification. Um, we sometimes think we have to have a huge repository of spreads at our fingertips in case we get stuck and we don't know what to do in a tarot reading. Um, Sometimes we're almost led to believe that we need to have lots and lots of tarot decks, but of course that's not true. Um, anything else? So Irinia is saying that you use intuition most times. Yes, and many readers do. Many readers do go on intuition. I'll tell you a story about that actually shortly. Um, so another thing that sometimes you hear people saying you have to have is almost a tarot heritage. You need to have be descended from tarot readers or magical practitioners. Well, I think you know where I'm going with this. The good news is that none of those things are true. Now, that's not to say that you can't have them. It's not to say that you can't or shouldn't understand tarot history or know a system really well or have a qualification if you want one or certification, that's fine. And many of us do have years of practice and many of us do have lots of spreads at our fingertips. But none of those things are necessary to connect with the tarot. And it's good sometimes to just take a moment and let that sink in, especially if you're new or if you find yourself sometimes lacking in confidence in your connection with the tarot. Anytime you have the thought, I should have this, I should have these various things, then you know you're allowed to just let that go. Paula says having lots of tarot decks not needed, but I love it. Yes, absolutely. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having lots of tarot decks. Many people enjoy collecting, so that's absolutely fine. But it's not necessary if you want to have a deep connection with tarot. So we can be very free, and that's one of the great things about connecting with our inner tarot deck. We can be really free in how we do that. So I'd like to lead you into the next section now, which is about seeing the tarot with a fresh pair of eyes. And perhaps you can tell me if this is true for you, because it's certainly true for me. When you see a card now, any card, let's say the card that you're working with today, do you find your mind, maybe even unconsciously, searching for information based on what you think the card means, based on all the information you've had and all the experience you've had in the past and the things you've read in the little white book or in a big book or things you've learned from tarot teachers or other people who you've connected with around tarot, or maybe your mind instantly goes to the symbolism in the card and you instantly find yourself thinking the moon on the epaulets here means something and the sphinxes, and your brain starts trying to process all of that very quickly. It's almost instinctive, isn't it? We do that when we see a card, particularly one that's very familiar to us. And we probably don't see our cards as being entirely new and fresh. It's almost impossible to do that. So I want to tell you a couple of stories about tarot card encounters I've had where there was a sense of newness to the experience, very powerful sense of newness. And one of them is one you might know. It's actually the story I told in this book, We Are the Sacred Masculine Rising. And it's about a dream I had when I was a little boy. And actually, I won't go into all the detail of the dream, but just suffice to say, it was a dream I had at the time in my life where my mum was very ill and she subsequently died. She had a terminal illness, a form of leukemia, and she died when I was 9 years old. And I would say a few weeks before she died, I was never told that she was going to die. So, uh, which I think was good in a way because it meant that I was able to just be with her in life, if you like. But my psyche told me, prepared me, and the way that it prepared me was I had a dream, and in the dream I was in a theatre, and I could see my mum being pulled across the stage in a lovely carriage, going from stage my right to uh, my left, and she was going across the stage, and this was I could tell in the dream that this symbolized her leaving. But it wasn't a sad dream. You know, she looked happy and radiant and she was waving and smiling. And it really it had a very deep effect on me in the sense that it taught me that there was something behind all of our immediate appearances, something very deep, a very deep connection. But the interesting thing is that in the dream, she was on this kind of carriage and she had this crown of stars and this lovely robe, flowing robe, and so on. And it was years later that I picked up a copy of the Waite Smith Tarot deck and looked at the Empress card and realized that that was what I had seen in my dream. I had seen my mum in the form of the Empress card before I had even seen the Empress card, before I even knew really what tarot was. So that was a new experience of the symbolism and the energy behind tarot that was very, very powerful. And of course, that's one of the things that has led me to make tarot such a large part of my life. So that was one encounter, and you can read more about that in the book if you like. Or I think actually I've read the chapter on my YouTube channel, which you can listen to for free if you want. The other experience I had was when I went for a reading, a tarot reading. This is before I really was very into tarot. I'd started reading tarot by this point, but didn't know an awful lot about it. And I went to see a tarot reader who used Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck. Now, those of you who know the Thoth deck will know it's deeply symbolic. It's got lots of information encoded into it. It's got astrological and magical systems and all kinds of different esoteric principles at play. An amazing art by Lady Frida Harris. It's a very deep, powerful deck with lots and lots of sophistication to it. Now, this person who did the reading didn't know anything about the Thoth deck. She just said that she liked the look of the deck and that's why she got it. She didn't understand anything about the background, magic or astrology or Aleister Crowley. She just read with it intuitively, using the pictures and interpreting them as she saw them and as they felt to her. And I have to tell you, the reading I had with her was one of the best tarot readings I have ever had from anyone in my entire life. It was a great experience. And of course, both of us were seeing the cards in a very clean way without assumptions about how the card should work. So, there is something to be said for seeing a card for the very first time with no history or expectation. And this is the way we connect with our inner tarot deck. This is the way we connect with what tarot means for us before anything that we're taught. Because all the learning, which is very beneficial, we can certainly add to our understanding with that learning, but this is how we develop a deep connection of our own. Now, as I say, it's almost impossible to do this, to develop a fresh perspective on the cards, but we're going to do a little exercise together now with your chosen card. So get your chosen card at the ready. Now, this is a little trance-based exercise. I'm going to lead you into a kind of trance in this exercise. So, needless to say, please don't do this if you're driving your car, or if you are chopping wood for your fire at the moment, or you've got some kind of machinery on the go that you're in control of. Do this when you can be settled and relaxed and calm. And um, and also only do this if you feel comfortable. If you don't want to be led into a trance-like state, you're not obliged to be. But what I'd like you to do is the following. I'd like you to take your card if you want to participate and put it in front of you. Just put it in front of you on your desk and have your pen and paper or your art materials. Remember I said if you had any desire to do art, you could do that. So if you've got your art materials ready, have them next to you because in a moment I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and then I'm going to count down to 10. And as we get more and more relaxed, we're going to connect to our inner archetypal selves. And when I get to number 1, you're going to open your eyes and you're going to look at your card and you're going to imagine that you're seeing it for the very first time and that you have no idea what it means. And you'll jot down or draw or paint or whatever you want to do, anything you notice. Now, just to say, you cannot do this exercise wrong. So I know that it's going to be not possible to really see the card for the very first time, but this is an imagination exercise from a very relaxed state. And I invite you to just see what arises for you when we go through this exercise. So just follow the simple directions and let come whatever comes. So, are we ready? Those of you who are ready, I'd like you to just get yourselves comfortable. Spine straight if you're sitting down. And we'll start with one deep breath and then we'll begin. So breathe in, hold at the top and then gently exhale and breathe out. Just be relaxed. Now close your eyes and keep breathing slow and steady and just relax. You're perfectly safe here and you're going to go on a little journey now to encounter the beginnings of your inner tarot deck. And we're going to start with 10 and you're gently relaxing and allowing all of your mind to gently relax and soften and softly open as we move to 9 and you're gently softly relaxing and your mind is slowly opening and relaxing and we're at 8 and you're continuing just to breathe slowly and steadily and gently and your mind is feeling open now, fresh, clear, and we're at 7 and you can feel yourself becoming more calm and more relaxed and more at peace as we move to 6. Just gently, with soft breathing and a sense of openness and peace now as we move to 5. And you're enjoying this sense of openness and clarity that comes as we gently move to 4. And you're even more open and clear now, soft and gentle, slow and relaxed. And we're at 3. And you feel an open spaciousness now and a fresh new clearness in your mind. And we're at 2. And you're open, free, fresh relaxed and new now. Your mind is open and new now. And we're at 1. And now, softly and gently and in your own time, just gently open your eyes and gaze softly at the card in front of you, seeing it now for the very first time. And allow whatever impressions come to you to just come. Let them arise inside you and be open to the new impressions and allow yourself to soak them in. And if anything comes to you to write down or to draw, please do so. Or maybe you feel called to make something with the clay or the scissors and paper. Maybe you just want to quietly note the impressions you're having in your own mind. That's absolutely fine. Just take a moment to allow your card to speak to you as though that card had only just been born in this moment and as though it had a completely new voice and you are the first person to be hearing it. What is it saying to you? So I'll just give you a moment to collect your thoughts and keep writing down any impressions that you're getting. Okay, so feel free to carry on as the rest of the session unfolds, to carry on jotting down your impressions. You don't have to stop. But because we went into a bit of a trance there, I'm going to bring you back to yourselves now so that you're not completely tranced out for the rest of the day. So I'm going to start counting back up. And as I do, I just want you to wiggle your toes and maybe stretch and move around and feel the chair under you and the breath coming in and out of you. And 1, 2, 3, and you're coming back now. 4, 5, 6. Just move around and let yourself feel grounded while feeling relaxed and maybe stretch. And you're feeling energized and connected both to your card and to yourself and to the environment around you now. And 7, 8, and you're feeling more solid and connected now. And 9, and we're all back together now with 10. Okay, so give yourself a shake. We're back in the room. So I hope that that was an interesting experience for you. And please feel free to share any feedback in the chat, what that was like for you. You don't need to share anything you don't want to, but what did you notice? What did you learn? How did it feel? How easy or difficult was it for you to see your card with a fresh pair of eyes? Was there anything you noticed that you were surprised by? Um, Anything that you would like to share, please feel free to do so. And just to say that you can do this exercise at any time with any card in any deck or with any new deck that you get. And in fact, it can be a wonderful way of getting to know a new tarot deck before you ever even look at the little white book. I often do this. If I get a new tarot deck, I'll do some form of this exercise with the cards before I start reading about the deck in too much depth so that I develop my own connection with it. And get a sense for myself of what the deck and the cards mean to me. Um, and there's something I want to offer you really in this, and any of the things that you noticed, and anything that you jotted down while you were doing this. Just take a moment to acknowledge that those um, perceptions, those impressions, those realizations came from inside you. That's where tarot ultimately lives, inside you. And if you have a deep connection to tarot, it's because you're a human being. It's not because of your expertise or your experience. It's because of your humanity. Because, of course, tarot is a profound symbol of very deep humanity. So Um, I hope that that was useful, and I hope that that had left you feeling both relaxed and kind of energized at the same time. Okay, so let me just get my next bit of notes together. Okay, so in the next section, before we move towards the close, I just want to um, share with you some other techniques that I've used over the years to help me connect with my deck and all of my decks. And as I say, you can use this and any other techniques that would be useful for you. So one is the one that we've done already. It's finding your touchstone card, but you can do this more meditatively by seeking a card in your tarot deck that represents what your inner tarot means to you. And the technique is very simple. You simply get your deck of cards, a favorite deck of cards, and you go through it with the cards face up. So looking at the cards, and you just start going through it until you see a card that connects with you. And as you do it, you tell yourself, I'm looking for a representation of my inner tarot deck. I'm looking for a card that will help me connect with my inner tarot deck. And you set aside any card that comes to you and any card you feel a connection with, and then you go through that pile and do the thing again until you've narrowed it down to one card. And then, of course, you can do lots of things with that one card. You can carry it with you. You can put it on your altar if you have one. You could journal with it. You could ask questions of it and have a dialogue with it. You could ask it questions like, what qualities do you, i.e., the inner tarot deck, embody through me? And you could use other cards to help you answer those questions. Or you might ask, how am I called to bring forth your service? In other words, how is my inner tarot deck calling me to show up in the world and be of service in the world? And the thing to remember is that the card you select, your touchstone card, represents your inner tarot deck, but it isn't the thing itself. It isn't the inner tarot deck itself. The inner tarot deck is inside you. So let's just have a look at the chat. So Paula's saying she's using the Fool, which is her birth card. The new idea I got is about distraction, being so distracted picking flowers that not notice the danger a bit ahead. That's interesting. Yes. Yes. So sometimes when we do this exercise, we see things about the card that are different to our normal interpretation. That can be really interesting. Lisa, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes, it's a nice experience. It's a nice meditative thing to do to connect with the cards. And and that's interesting. Linda's saying the card you used, Linda, was the Chariot, which is your birth card, and for the first time you felt trust and warmth when looking at it. That's very interesting. And I definitely relate to that because I think before I knew, I'm looking at my chariot on the wall, before I knew that the chariot was my birth card, I think I saw it as a bit of a cold card. It seemed very solid and, especially in the Rider Waite deck with the kind of um, stone block that the chariot's made of. But I similarly have developed much more of a warm relationship with it, and that comes from learning to look at it with fresh eyes. So that's really interesting. Well, I'm glad that was useful for you. Now, another technique. So, one technique is finding your touchstone card. Another technique that can be useful to use, um, Miguel is saying, the magician showing me that all is possible as long as I'm committed to it. Now I can really feel it. Well, that's another interesting point that sometimes when we do this exercise, we connect with the card on a deeper level. It might be a meaning that's similar to one we're used to, but we connect with it on a deeper level. Paula, your card is Pepita and felt expansion. Wonderful. Rebecca, the wheel and the clouds parted to wheels within wheels, and all the figures are reading books. I never noticed before they are all reading books. That's wonderful. Yes, that is wonderful. Yeah, so things that we don't commonly notice, we're almost blind to until we do the exercise of looking with a fresh pair of eyes and we see all kinds of things. I mean, we could sit really with all of the different cards in any deck, couldn't we, and do this exercise, and we'd see amazing new things. It's a really powerful process to go through. Another powerful process is almost the extreme opposite of this, and that's where I'm sure many of you have done this before, comparative study. So what you do is you look at cards in lots of detail, uh, including some familiar cards. So what you maybe would do is get a whole number of different decks, and you'd choose the same card from all those decks. So maybe it would be the Seven of Pentacles, and you would get your Thoth Seven of Discs, as it would be in that deck, and you get your Seven of Coins from the Marseille deck, and then you get your Seven of whatever in a whole host of other decks, and you lay them all out in front of you, all the same card, different versions from different decks. You could do this as many as 10, 20, 50 different decks if you have lots of different decks. Um, and then you let your eyes roam over them, and you start jotting down impressions of things that are the same about the cards and things that are different. And you might ask the cards what connects you, and you might ask what separates you. And again, you jot down your impressions. So this is about looking at lots of detail rather than trying to remove yourself from the detail. And Lisa is saying she chose the moon, saw the moon from within myself. Looking out from my heart, I could see the water shimmering and the water sparkling. When I opened my eyes and looked at the card, the mountains and the darkness of the sky and the distance between the towers. Wonderful. Yes. Now, Miguel is asking why my cards are so huge. They are huge. This is from the giant Rider Waite deck, which I actually use when I do tarot training. I've stuck little bits of um, magnet on the back, magnet tape, and you can see on the um, whiteboard up there, I've got the aces stuck to the whiteboard. So I stick the cards onto the whiteboard when I'm teaching tarot. It's a lovely deck, actually. It's a little tip for you if you want to see new things in this particular deck, get hold of the giant Rider Waite because you will spot detail that you might not have spotted before. So just a little tip. So we've done finding the touchstone card. We've done comparative study, comparing the same card from lots of different decks. Another thing you can do, and again you can do this now if you feel called to, is an art prompt. And what you do here is you choose your card or any card, and you find one detail in that card. It can be absolutely anything. It can be a person or an animal, or it can be something that someone's holding, or something that's in the background, or a symbol. So, let's just say, um, well, if it was the Seven of Cups, I might say, I'm going to pick that wreath, that laurel wreath, I guess it is, in that card. And what you do, once you've chosen it, you take a blank piece of paper and you create a new piece of art starting with that thing. So I would draw the laurel wreath and then I just build from there and let my artistic intuition, such as it is, you don't have to have very much artistic intuition, but just let it flow and see what comes. Just develop something. It doesn't have to be a tarot card, it can be anything. And you just allow your intuition to guide you. So you might want to do that now if you haven't already. Look for a detail in your card, jot it down on a bit of paper, and then start drawing from there and just see where it leads you. And this is a way of connecting with a symbol or an item within your current deck and then seeing how much is connected to that isn't visible in the card, and you'll be surprised, I think, to see what happens. So that's a fun one, especially if you like art. Another fun one that you can do is to build a tarot family, I call it. And again, you use multiple decks for this. Ideally, decks that have got people in the art or animals in the art. And what you do is you go through those decks and you pick all of your favorite people, ideally people who you'd like to form a family of your inner tarot, and you bring them together. You could then photograph them, you could turn it into a collage or a mosaic. You allow people to come together from lots of different decks and you appreciate them and take time to let them be within you and just see what the connections are and get a sense of what would if your inner tarot was a family, what would it look like? Who would be in that family? Who would populate that family? That's another nice thing to do. And then a fifth thing that you can do is to dialogue with your tarot card. Many of you will have done that already, I'm sure. And you do that by starting with the simple question, what are the qualities of my inner tarot deck? And you answer that question for yourself first of all. Then you would go through your deck and ask some of the characters in the deck to help you. So you would say, Fool, what are the qualities of my inner tarot deck? Or Magician, what are the qualities of my inner tarot deck, and you let them answer you. You just give yourself some time to think and see what impressions come. Maybe pull other cards to help you answer those questions, and jot down your notes and just have a dialogue with existing tarot cards about your inner tarot deck. And then a couple more just before we finish this bit and we wrap up. Um, you can, of course, do what I know many of you have done, and that is make an outer tarot deck. But you don't need to, again, be a deck creator to do this. If you've begun to feel the sense of an inner tarot inside you, perhaps once you've done some of these exercises, you get 78 blank cards. You write the name of each of the 78 cards of the tarot very small on the cards, and then you start drawing your own deck. And it can be very simple. It can be abstract even. You could stick things on, you can have abstract colors, you might just have words. But the point would be they're your words. In fact, my friend James Wells, who's a Canadian tarot reader, recently had a period of time where he was able to spend some time developing his own deck. And his deck was simply index cards where he had written the name of the card, he'd written the elemental symbol of the card, and then he'd written his keywords for that card. And he'd been doing readings with his deck, and he posted some of them online, and they're amazing. They're wonderful, so insightful. And that's his deck, no art on it, but it's very much his deck. So that's something that's really simple. Anyone can do that. You don't need to be an artist to do that. And try doing it without looking at a book to remind you what any of the cards mean. Trust yourself to know what the meanings are. Okay, and the final technique I have for you is actually a spread which I've put together, and I call it your inner tarot spread. And well, let me just show you. I'll make sure you can see this. I'll post a photo of this in the group, by the way, so you can use it. So what you do here, um, Lisa's asking, what is that called again? I call this the inner tarot spread. Inner tarot spread. So what you do is you have your touchstone card, the one that you chose, you pop that in the middle as a significator, and then you ask, how does my inner tarot appear on the physical level? How does it help me live on the physical level? And that's your second card. Oh, this is wobbling a bit. Um, so you choose a card to represent that. Then you ask, what does it mean and how does it appear on the intellectual level? In other words, how does it help me think? And that's your third card. Fourth card, how does it help me feel on the emotional level? Number five, how does it help me connect with life on the spiritual level? And then the sixth card, and you can choose more than one card for any of these positions if you want, but the sixth card, I think it's sometimes quite nice to choose this one from the bottom of your deck. So if you have a pile of cards you've been working with and you've been shuffling them and pulling all the other cards, the gift card I like to often pull from the bottom of the deck, the one that's just there on the bottom, it's landed there by chance, and that's your gift card. And the gift card represents what unique gift can only your inner tarot bring into this world. What unique gift can only your inner tarot bring into this world? Which really is another way of saying, what unique gift can you bring into this world? That's what that card really means. And you can choose it any way you like. You can either select it as you would all the other cards or pull it from the bottom of the deck. But this is a lovely and fun spread to connect with your inner tarot. And I'll post this in the group after I've finished. So we've just got a few more minutes left. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have. So please do pop any questions in the chat, and I'm happy to take those. And if we run out of time for me to answer them, I'll come back into the chat and answer them later. But let me just give you, before I go, some resources that I think you might find helpful if you're interested in this concept of exploring your inner tarot deck. And some of them are books that you'll be familiar with, maybe some that are less familiar to you. So first of all, a couple by Mary Greer. This is a very well-known Mary Greer book, 21 Ways to Read a Tarot Card. And this, of course, has, exactly as the name suggests, different ways of looking at tarot. And what you'll find is that many of the ways are ways that help you with fresh thinking. And fresh thinking when we look at any tarot deck helps us develop our own connection with tarot. So Mary Greer's 21 Ways to Read a Tarot Card is excellent. Another great book of hers, currently out of print, I think, is this one called Tarot Mirrors, Reflections of Personal Meaning. This is quite a deep book, lots of different techniques in here for connecting with tarot on a very deep, symbolic, archetypal, spiritual level. And it's got information about meditation with tarot and how to work with the elements and uh, the kind of coaching processes that she uses and moving meditations and so on. So, Tarot Mirrors, that's a lovely book. Another one that's great for self-discovery and self-reflection and helps you connect with your own view is this one, Tarot for Self-Discovery by Nina Lee Braden. It's in the Special Topics in Tarot series. This is a nice one. Again, out of print, I think, but you can probably pick it up secondhand. And then a couple more. This one by Mark McElroy, What's in the Cards for You? And this is about experiments that you do with tarot. So you do different experiments with tarot to test your connection with the cards and how the cards relate to you. And that's terrifically fun. So I love that one. And then another fun one, particularly if you like all the kind of arty things that we've been doing today in this session, the Tarot Activity Book by Andy Matzner, who is now known by a different name on Instagram. So I think if you still search for Andy Matzner, the profile will come up. And this is a wonderful book for just looking at different ways of connecting with the cards a kind of quite a visceral level and quite an artistic uh, level. So let me just before uh, I just want to check whether that profile is the same. Um, no, I'm not sure. I'll pop a link into the chat for the new profile that I'm talking about. So, and then the last resource I want to make you aware of, I've already mentioned it, is of course my Tarot Coach second session success workshop, which the second version of is going to be starting fairly soon. Um, uh, and Paul is saying, yeah, so did you notice that Brian wrote good morning in Portuguese on the board on the back? Yes, I'm quite pleased with that, although it's kind of afternoon now. I think we can still say bom dia. It's good day as well as good morning, isn't it? I guess. So hopefully you're impressed with my Portuguese skills. I did think about trying to speak in Portuguese, but that probably would have been a bit much. So I hope that's been useful. Let me just check the chat to see if there are any questions. No, I think that's covered everything. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments. I'll be coming back into the comments a bit later on. I'm very happy to pick up any comments that you've got, or any questions you've got. And it's been lovely to be here with you all. It's lunchtime now, I think, so you can relax, you can enjoy your lunch, you can enjoy the rest of today and tomorrow. And again, a big thank you all for being here, and a big thank you to Paula for inviting me to be part of this, and to Paula and Miguel for all the work that they've put into it. It's been wonderful. And you look after yourselves, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.